Today I'm doing what I have done a couple of other times, which is make a little tiny tapestry with a bunch of strings and a ton of knots that I don't get bored with at all whenever I'm doing it. This one was actually pretty fun though. And yeah, so let's go do it.
As I normally start out with these, it's just a bunch of slip knots onto a wooden rod of some sorts. I usually just end up using a skewer that I've cut up because I'm lazy and it works pretty well. And I decided not to record the entirety of me just putting slip knots on a piece of wood because A, it's harder for me to do, and B, it's really not that interesting. But the entirety of this pattern, I was just going off of the pattern, which I will say I kind of forgot how to change between strings. It's been a little while, but after I got used to it and got back into the rhythm of things, it didn't take as much time as I thought it would be for a single row. Like the first row, which was just one color, took a lot longer than I was expecting. I'm like, this is gonna take really long. It actually didn't. It only took me a little over 4.5 hours, which looking back on it's like, yeah, that makes sense. I also stretched it out over, I did most of this in a single day, so I stretched it out over like a day with a couple of different breaks. And it really wasn't all that bad. I wasn't hating it. There were a couple of times that I made mistakes, and one of them is actually coming up where I just kind of use a pencil to help me get the knots out because I was having some struggles trying to do it by myself. So then I had to like try and erase the graphite marks it left behind, but it all worked out in the end. And yeah, it just ended up looking really cool. I ended up like knotting the knots too close together, so it slowly started tapering down, which I noticed and then tried to pull apart, which kind of worked. It works well enough if you notice it in advance, and then you can start doing things about it and you can start making your knots a little bit looser. But, you gotta live and learn, and you just have to keep going sometimes because I was not going to remake this. At least not this year, and probably not again. But I do like the pattern, and I do think it's ranked as the difficulty it should be because it was kind of difficult, but it's not impossible. One thing that I always love about making these is the time lapse afterwards, where if you don't look at my hands and all the hectic things they're doing, you can just watch as each row slowly gets made, and it just looks so cool because it just starts out looking like random colors just put in there with no accord whatsoever, and then it slowly just builds up into this image, and you're like, hey, that's cool. It's like that makes words or that makes a shape, and it's just understandable, and it's so amazing in my opinion, and it takes so much time, but it's always worth it. Even if it just is a complete failure, you learn from those mistakes and you keep going, and it just always turns out for the better as you learn to live with everything that you do when making it. And I don't know why I don't make more of these, because every time I make them, I just remember how much fun I have making them. And it's building something, even if it's small. You put so much effort into this tiny little piece of artwork, and normally it turns out so beautiful. And wow, am I getting sentimental right now? I don't even have this anymore, but I really liked how this one turned out, and I hope to do a bunch more of these in the future because they are just so cool looking.
So I actually have given the tiny tapestry to the person, and I didn't get to see their reaction because I just kind of like shoved it in their face, like, here you go. But I think they liked it. Anyway, I'm just going to have at the end of the video a very sped up version of the bracelet making where it's just even faster. And hopefully it takes like the least amount of time possible. I hope you all have a great day.